Good morning, and it's a warmer welcome this time because the sun is out to play for day 3 of the final race day for the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship here in the Mobility Resort Motegi in Japan. Now, behind me, you'll see the containers that will be shipped out after this, right after this round, to the beautiful island of Lombok, the beautiful scenic island of Lombok. And we'll be ready to race once again and continue on the battle that we're seeing this weekend. Now, to what we have for today's final day. We got the warm-ups in the morning, which will be a lot warmer than the weather we've seen for the past couple of days, and then the final race to later on in the afternoon. The action is going to be hot. The championship battles right now for the table, it's really starting to boil up. For example, in the ASB 1000s, there's only a 10-point gap between Azroy and in second place Kito Abe. Can Azroy keep himself nailed at the top of the table? In the 600s now, Anupap is rising to glory, and really he's starting to build up this reputation of starting not too well in the grid, but really finishing the race in fantastic form. In the 250s, can RB defend where he's at right now at P1 on the table for the 250 class? In the Underbone 150s, it's a fantastic 4 out of 5 for his Nissan Fauci. Will he make it 5? Could be a nice high five for him this time. And in the TVS Asia Road Racing Championship, it's none other than Hiroki Ono rising to his proper form once again on his home ground. Can he make it a fantastic double? Well, that's all coming up right after this for the race 2 in the afternoon. But first and foremost, it's warm-ups. Let's go have a look at it.
Daniel said, it was a warmer welcome today from Mobility Resort Motegi, where we reached the final day of round 3 of the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. This is Sunday morning warm-up, which is a great chance for us to see the riders out on track and to say what we think about the race 1, which of course took place yesterday. We had fantastic races in every class. And we begin this morning's proceedings with a 10-minute warm-up session for the TVS Asia One-Make Championship. And I think it's fair to say, Daniel, what we saw with TVS was a move by Hiroki Ono to take a little grip on this championship. We'll see what happens this afternoon. Hiroki Ono was peerless yesterday. We saw great racing down the field, especially from Ramdan Rosli and Sartak Chavan, who finished 2nd and 3rd, and from Hunter Corney and Luis Miguel, who were 4th and 5th. But nobody was anywhere near the pace and the composure of Hiroki Ono, and he now goes from being 2nd in the championship to leading it.
Yeah, Hiroki really rise to his former self. It looked like Hiroki from back when he just came into the championship midway through, and it's really the Hiroki that we've been missing. I mean, of course, it's great seeing Sartak and the rest really rise to their own form as well, but Hiroki just seemed to struggle a bit early on in this first couple of rounds. So the worrying thing for the other competitors is if Hiroki's unlocked something in himself in the bike again, he might fancy running away with this.
Yeah, let's see what happens when we get onto the other circuits. But of course, this is his playground. He's expecting a double win here, and I think, to be fair, we were too. But let's see what happens in the rest of the season. But this is a golden opportunity for him to go from being leading contender in the championship to a clear leader. So that's Hiroki Ono, but apart from that, Ramdan Rosli and Sartak Shaban impressed. Those are the other two realistic championship contenders in 2025. And what we saw from Sartak was a pretty mature performance. Just one error at the end of the penultimate lap, which he didn't seem to lose anything from at all. He went wide at turn 14, but kept it pinned, didn't lose any time, and battled his way through past the wily Ramdan Rosli to take second place.
Yeah, I thought that was impressive from Sartak. You would think that after a couple of errors, some riders might back off a bit and try to just maintain position rather than fight for a higher position again. But Sartak had a real fighter's mentality about it, and I was really impressed by the young Indian rider. I think he did a really good job yesterday.
Absolutely. So as it stands, Hiroki Ono is on 99 points, and then it's Ramdan Rosli on 92, and then Sartak is on 88. So as it stands, it's finally poised. Although this rider on your screen now, Hiroki Ono, has an opportunity this afternoon to stretch that lead a little bit further. So let's see what Ramdan, Sartak, and perhaps Luis Miguel can do about it. I also enjoyed the performance of Hunter Corney yesterday. He got away really sharply, took the lead at one stage. 14-year-old Australian showing no undue respect for Hiroki Ono or anybody else in the field. He fought really hard, and so Hunter Corney is a talent that I think we'll see developing throughout this season. And let's see if today he can stay with the leading group. A much fancied Australian. He's come through the Yamaha Blue Crew Series 150s. And I first saw him in the R3 Blue Crew Asian Series last year, and was super impressed with him. He actually won a race as a wildcard in Australia, so he's ready to go, and the errors that he makes in races are getting fewer and fewer. There he is, the number 9 on your screen there, and as he gets to grips with these slightly heavier machines, the TVS Apache RR310s, and a different engine configuration, because remember, these are single-cylinder engines, so lots of torque, and as you can make a very distinctive sound too. So they're a little bit different under braking, so there's greater risks of locking the rear wheel under braking. It's the 4th season now of the TVS Asia One Make Championship, and we've seen the performance of these bikes smoothed out, thanks in large part to A-Racer, who supply the electronics, the ECU, engine management system, for these bikes. So due props to A-Racer for what they've done to help make this series such a great competitive spectacle. And in terms of bringing new riders in, it's great. I mentioned the 14-year-old Australian Hunter Corney. We have another 14-year-old from New Zealand, Dixon Frost, and then we have riders from Indonesia, India. So just at the top, we've got Japan, top of the standings. We've got Japan, Hiroki Ono, Ramdan Rosli, Malaysia, Sartak Shaban, India, And then we've got Spain, Australia, Thailand, Korea, Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore. Just looking down the list. So we have a whole variety of young riders coming in, often from countries where motorcycle racing isn't so developed. So this series doing a great job of bringing in young talent that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to compete on an international stage and at the great circuits that the Asia Road Racing Championship visits. And by that I mean Chang International Circuit of Buriram, Sepang, here at Motegi. Next we go to Mandalika, and for those of you who are looking at the gap in the calendar we had for round 5, we'll be at Malaysia again at Sepang for round 5, and then return to Buriram to Chang International in December. So the calendar now is fixed. There comes Hunter Corney. He's being tailed there by Riku Matsushima. Of course, we've got some strong Japanese riders in this category, as we have in others. The domestic series here being so strong, there are always strong riders who can come in. And yesterday, Matsushima came in 7th, just behind the very lively young Indian Chiran Vishwanath. So he had a pretty decent race. And as they get to grips with these TVS Apaches, they'll get better and better. There is in number 3 of Sartak Chavan, tall young Indian, holding himself nicely onto that TVS Apache. Just behind him is Rendi, Indonesian, who looked strong early in the race but faded in the end, finishing 10th.
The funny thing about this weekend's session is that I find the positions are consistently Hiroki, Ramdan, Sartak, except for race yesterday where Ramdan finished 3rd, but it is exactly in the order of their race numbers, which were their championship positions last season as well. And one thing about Ramdan, I overheard him saying that his bike ran into an issue towards the end of the race. So I'm curious to see if it seems as of right now that there's no issue with this bike, and I wonder if Ramdan can find a little bit more of what they were missing. Can he put himself behind Hiroki Ono as we've seen him do in the past?
Yeah, in terms of the pace, it was Hiroki Ono was looking at the best laps. His best lap was a 2:04.6. Sartak's 2:05.6, and the same for Ramdan Rosley. So yeah, if he can get on the pace, if he can get on the tailor for Hiroki Ono, and if he's found something, there will be lessons, of course, from race 1. And just looking at the times to see if there's any clues this morning. Hiroki Ono at the top, so that's no surprise. He's been doing 2:06s. The checkered flag comes out now. Ramdan 2:06.3. Same for Luis Miguel. There's another rider who's going to be keen this afternoon to get himself up with that leading group and not slip back as he did yesterday. Got a race win under his belt already, so the young Spaniard getting to grips with these. First trip to Motegi and adapting really well.
It's really starting to heat up here in Motegi. The sun is really cooking up the track by the looks of it, so this might be interesting for the race later.
Yeah, the sun seems to have come out suddenly. I mean, we arrived just about an hour ago, and it was overcast then, and I had the same feeling as before. But there are the times. 2:05.69 for Hiroki Ono, posted the fastest time. Ramdan Rosley 2:06.2, so very much in reach in the warm-up session. Then it was Luis Miguel 2:06.5, and then Sartak Chavan, yesterday's runner-up, Chiran Vishwanath, was fifth quickest, then it was the fastest wildcard Shingo Hidaka, and just jumping down to Riku Matsushima, who was ninth quickest. Then it was Hunter Corney, 208.6 for him. Leandro Paredes, the Filipino, 0.8. Then it was Alwyn Sundar and Nixon Frost, who hasn't quite got to grips with this Motegi circuit yet. So let's see what he can do later this afternoon. So that is the first warm-up session of the morning for TVS Asia One Make Championship. There'll be another 10-minute session coming up in about 7 minutes from now, and that will be the Underbone 150s. So stay with us at Motegi for the final day of round 3 of the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. Welcome back to Mobility Resort Motegi, and greetings to Underbone fans around the world that we know tune in at every opportunity. Well, this opportunity is Sunday morning warm-up. Local time here is just after 9:20 in the morning, and the weather is really warming up, having had a couple of cool days for practice on Friday and qualifying in race 1 yesterday. Things are really warming up here in Japan. We are just about 2 hours north of Tokyo in the beautiful Tochigi prefecture, and this racetrack, if you've never been here before, is well worth a visit, as it sits in the mountains, absolutely surrounded by forest. It's a gorgeous location and a fantastic racetrack. Now this is a warm-up session, just 10 minutes, 7.5 minutes remaining, and it doesn't seem like anybody, or not many riders, are actually warming up. So the warm-up, of course, is where you try out anything that you've changed, any setup changes. Got new brake pads to bed the brakes in. But there's a rider who's getting on with it. That's Fahmi Bassam, the defending champion. And the first thing to say about Fahmi, as we look at his legs akimbo tuck-in style, is that he's made a pretty decent effort in any other universe. His opening championship defense would have been very respectable. Look at him coming up behind those slower riders there. Now they're getting a move on, but that's why we don't like to see this, Daniel. But back with Fahmi, a very decent start to his championship defense, as I said, in any other universe, with 3 second places so far, only 1 DNS and a lower place finish, but he finds himself 45 points down in the championship with 5 races down, because Hosni Zainal Boudzi has scored 4 wins from 5 starts, and the only time we haven't seen him on the podium, he was in 4th place in race 2 at Buriram. And so Hosni will no doubt be seeing very shortly. Number 143, so look out for him. Hosni is here for the very first time at Motegi, and he was right at the top all the way through practice on Friday. He went through Superpole and bagged 2nd place, so started from the middle of the front row. Bassam was the pole man, and he went through, long story short, positioned himself well all the way through the race, and won by a handsome margin in Underbone terms of 45 hundredths of a second. So absolutely incredible start to the season. We're pretty sure we've been talking about this and taking a look back. We haven't found performance quite so dominant. The 2025 Asia Road Racing Championship will reach the halfway point by the time we finish racing this evening. And one thing, Daniel, as I said, Hosni is here on his debut, and he seems to talk a lot about rhythm.
Yeah, which I think is a very good word to use for Underbone.
I think so too. That really chimed with me when I heard him say it.
Yeah.
He's kind of almost, you know, like a kind of hippie Zen kind of approach, and I really get it as soon as he said it.
Yeah, and it just suits his character as well. He's such a fun person to talk to, and he's just always so positive. And I think the way he's approaching the Underbones, it's very much a calculated approach every race, and rhythm is definitely one thing that's key. I mean, it's one thing to be able to do a fast lap, but to be constantly fighting an overtake from slipstreams behind, you're having the right rhythm. That's really what it requires to stay at the top and eventually find your tactic for the last lap.
Yeah, well, it's surely working for him. Rider on the screen there, 127, is Ricky Ibrahim. And there is Hosni. It's going through there, just ahead of Ricky. Oh, like a puff of smoke coming from the back of.
Oh, that is,
Oh,
that
it
is oil
is.
leaking.
That's an oil leak. Now we need to clear that. We do have nose going across the track.
Yeah, he has no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
Saw it on the last lap as well. A puff of smoke coming out as he went down the gears, so it looks like the engine's properly going through issues for Fami Bassam. Sorry, for Ricky.
Yeah. Unusual to see smoke puffing out the back of an LFN Yamaha.
Yeah, the only time we saw that was after a crash. Usually the LFN bikes are really built strong and well.
Yeah. Number 24 going through there was Pirapong. He had a good race yesterday, finishing 5th. Sorry, I apologise to Pirapong. He was 4th yesterday. Going through there is Dimas Julie on the bright yellow bike. Gupita Krishna, number 23. Gupita coming back from injury, but doing a respectable job yesterday. He finished 9th, 1.3 seconds down on the winner. It could be that just that injury, which he told me is 80% recovered, but could account for the margin away. He won race 1 last time we were here at Motegi, so we know he goes well. It's 202 Dimas Julie there. He was 5th yesterday and threatening all the way through. We had several 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. We had 9 non-finishers yesterday. So plenty of attrition there. There is a long time with the throttle wide open here. This circuit consisting of long straights, so a lot of time with the bike upright and revving hard. A lot of time hard on the brakes. There's the corners, very low gear, slow corners. So it is stop and go, apart from the stretch from turn 5 up to turn 10. Which goes up the hill in a series of smooth curves. The other place where you need to be really nimble is right at the end of the lap, from turns 11 through to 14. Big field as usual, 26 bikes. I do believe they are all good to go again today. Kid Aziz in the mix there as well. Kid Aziz, only 1 podium for him so far this season, but that is good enough to put him 3rd in the championship. As we look just in the foreground, through the screen, there's the 143. Back with Dimas Julie. He does seem to draw the attention of us in the commentary box, because he's such an exciting rider. Joining Waiwaji Trilaksana in the Racetech 60 team, and just like that, his warm-up session for the Underbones is over. Appropriately, Husni leads the bikes as they peel off to the right. The final time in this warm-up session. There goes the 43 of April King Moscato. 31 and Shamal Amshar. So talking about Shamal Amshar, the number 31 there for Cardinals. Cardinals had a rotten day yesterday.
Yeah.
With both Fajrul and Amshar going out with mechanical failures at the same point on the track, right at the end of the lap, right by pit entry. That was the only fortunate thing about it.
Yeah, it's bizarre to have both your bikes having a technical issue. It's really unfortunate because Fazrul was really quick from the get-go. He's been quick all weekend, and seems to really like Motegi. You can see on the grid interview as well, his experience, he really knows what he needs to do to make it around Motegi in a proper, quick race. And yeah, it's just unfortunate, and I really hope we get to see Fazrul fighting in front once again.
Yeah, and this rider, FIM ran the number 50, because he was another struck by misfortune yesterday, and he was looking threatening all the way through, and we know he's on good domestic form. We know his quality, but fastest in this warm-up session was defending champion Fahmi Busam for Yamaha LFN HP 969 Indonesia. Second quickest, Pirapong Louis just missed the penalty yesterday. Third quickest, Aditya Fauzi, who indeed was third in the race yesterday. So that gorgeous backdrop, let's just see. 2:15.661. It's a pretty good time. Pirapong Louis second quickest, Aditya Fauzi third, and then Afifan Ram hoping for better luck and a good result this afternoon, as will his teammate for Pitsbike Superfast, Akid Aziz. He was fifth quickest, and then it was Farrell Rashidan for Forest 1M Evo. Then Wayu Aji Trelaksana for Racetech 60, eighth quickest was his teammate, and runaway championship leader Husni Zainul Fauzi. Beg your pardon, Husni is not his teammate. Shahril Shazras for Estremo Yuzi, and then Masato Fernando, who showed quite strongly yesterday at stages in the race. He was 10th quickest. Dimash Julie, we looked at and talked about a little bit, and actually is Wayu Aji's teammate. And then Ricky Ibrahim, who we saw with smoke pouring out of the back, and then Gupita Krishna 13th quickest. 14th was John Emerson Ngito for 4S1M Evo Yamaha. Dawizi Ahmad Sahir for Estremo Yuzi was 15th. And then it was Kiki Sudaman for the 178 for JPN WSND, and then Badley Ayatullah Masarong for Maestro NWN SCK. April King Moscado 18th, 19th his fellow Filipino AJ Sobretodo. 20th was Nazrul Izzat Bahauddin, who had another mechanical breakdown yesterday, and Shamil Amshar for Cardinals was 24th. Then his teammate Fazrul Sham. Then Jordan Badaru for Team One for All, another replacement rider. Arde Barshad for Uma Racing Majimoto Asia team. And then it was Afizi Supat and Tengu Amaral for Vosges AS25 Racing team. 25th and 26th, recording 2:23 and a 2:26 respectively for the Vosges riders. So we take a break here, and we will be back with the AP250s in about 5 minutes from now. So stay with us at Motegi for the final day of round 3 of the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. We are back on track in Sunday morning warm-up with the AP 250s, just coming out on their sighting lap for their 10-minute warm-up session. And what a race we had yesterday. It was a right old race one rumble with 1 second covering the top 8 finishers. And the championship leader, the convincing championship leader, who came to Motegi with 3 wins from 4 starts under his belt, Fadila Arbi for Astra Honda. He didn't have things all his own way, and while he was only 0.3 of a second off the race winner, he came in 5th. And the story at the front was that, surprise, surprise, once again we come to Japan and the wildcards are really disrupting the positions expected by the leaders. And the rider that did it once again, he did it last year by bagging a 2nd place in race 2. It was last year in race 1 yesterday. Ryota Ogiwara for Sanwa Racing Team came in 2nd once again, and he was behind Victor Racing Team's Izam Iqmal, who is getting better and better. Izam Iqmal building on P3 and a P2 that he scored in Sepang, and taking a race win now. So a nice linear progression over the last 3 races for Victor Racing's Izam Iqmal. Absolutely brilliant performance. Put himself in the right position on the last lap. Got overtaken by Gritapat, but managed to slipstream to the line. There's a very long run from the final turn to the finish line, the longest I believe on the ARRC calendar, and that really does make a difference for race results, because you've got plenty of time for slipstreaming. So there he is, number 124, yesterday's winner, the championship leader, just ahead of him there. Fadila Arbi Aditama, the number 93 on the distinctive Astra Honda red and white CBR 250. And just behind them, another distinguished wildcard, Rintaro Takamoto, the number 81. And it was another good performance yesterday from AP 250 debutant Murabo Vitoni, the 157. What a smart pick by LFN to put him on 2 250s for this season. He ended up on pole position and finished 3rd in a race that was so competitive right until the finish line. We had no idea who really would triumph.
Yeah, I think Murbo looks right at home on the 250. He always had the pace in the Underbones, but it just seemed we weren't getting the full Murabil for a couple of seasons, and I think LFN did such a good job to promote him. They saw something that, well, a lot of us did see as well, the quality in Murabil, and I think it's shining on the 250 class. It's not easy to translate Underbone riding to 250s. It's a completely different riding style, but Murabil has really molded well to this.
Yeah, he has. Looking again there at Rintaro Takamoto, who finished 9th yesterday, 1.3 seconds down on the winner. So that's how tight it was and how well this wildcard Takamoto performed.
Yeah, you'd have to fancy the Rintaro for a decent one today. I think the conditions are going to be even better than they were yesterday, so I'm expecting some good performances from the wildcards. Although I wouldn't discount the possibility of rain later on. We still have a lot of thick clouds surrounding Motegi.
Well, the sunshine has surprised us this morning. Let's see what surprises us this afternoon. These riders start their 2nd flying lap. And it is Murabil at the top of the timing screens again. We are really used to this. And I agree with you, Daniel. I think it's great to see him on a 250, because it was slightly frustrating to watch him in Underbone, seeing how fast he was, but not quite getting the results that he deserved. Another young gun going through there for Cardinals Factory Racing is the number 31 of Faris Putra Fadil. Not adjusting quite as quickly as Murabil to the tanked machine.
Actually, I would say I think it's just Cardinals' bike is not there yet, because I've seen what Faris can do on the factory Yamaha, and he was rapid. He was so quick. If I compare the AP to 50 times in Sepang, I think if I remember correctly, he was only 0.8 of the fastest time we've ever had. So for Faris, this is unfortunate that it's taking this long for the team and Faris to get it all together, but it's only a matter of time for Faris Putra.
Yeah, good point, Daniel, because this is the first time we've seen Cardinals in 250s.
It's just a learning curve for them right now, and it's similar for Dennis Shami. I had a chat with him this morning as well, and he also is facing the same thing that Faris Putra is facing, which is the team are still trying to get that bike competitive, because both of them are really high quality riders, and the team, they're expanding for the first time this season, both teams. So it's going to be a learning one for them.
Yeah, number 56 there, that's Gao Hendra, just drifting past Gao Jiang, the Chinese rider. He wouldn't have been so happy with yesterday's race. Didn't feature as what we might have expected. He had a DNF late in the race. And there is Ogiwara, number 97 for Sanwa Racing. And his teammate, Hikari Okubo, featured pretty much all the way through the race as well, finishing just 0.4 of a second off race winner Izam Ikmal. Beautifully turned out machine. The number 18 there is Goon Hu Tri, one of 3 Vietnamese riders here. Along with Ton Pu, and along with Chao Vietnam, who's had a disappointing, fair enough to say, weekend so far. He finished 17th yesterday. We're used to seeing Chao Vietnam last season and this season among the leaders, but it's not quite working for him this weekend. Hasn't been.
Yeah, you've got to wonder what's going on for Honda Racing Vietnam and Cup Vietnam this week. It's not been at all what reflects the quality of the riders and the team. And it's strange because they've had previous experience in Motegi, so you'd think they'd be able to continue on whatever they had as a base setup, but they look almost as a team that's come here fresh and not had anything to go off by.
Yeah, that's true. Number 24 there, Davino Brittani, teammate to championship leader Fadila Arbi. They're running 2 bikes in this year's AP 250 championship. Last years we have seen 3 bikes from Astra Honda. As Ogiwara pulls up the inside of Brittani as they go across the line. And that's Kotaro Tagashi on the number 50, which is the SCG Hark Pro Honda Philippines entry for this round. He's replacement rider for Jacob Sablaya, a Filipino rider. And there, the number 39 in traditional Yamaha colours this morning is Kridapat Kenkum. He ran what looked like some 70th anniversary red and white Yamaha colours yesterday. He had a really good race too, threatening at the front, all the way just finishing off the podium. 0.2 of a second. It was such a competitive race. 31 entries this weekend for AP 250s. And just going through there is the 571 of Fadil Musyavi, who DNF'd yesterday, but it was really exciting earlier in the race. A few little clashes with fellow riders, and ultimately ended in tears for him, but there's he's a replacement rider for Yamaha Racing Indonesia. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this afternoon, as we do with Chandra Hermawan, the number 88 who threatened again, as he pretty much always does. Ended up finishing 8th, second down on the winner. There's the 108 of 2-times champion Andy Fadley on the 4-cylinder Kawasaki. As we said before, these 4-cylinder Kawasaki's, these little screamers that sound so good, don't appear to be quite on the same level as the Yamaha R3 and the Honda CBR 250s.
Yeah, and you have to feel for the two riders riding those bikes, Aiki and Andy Fadley, both quality riders and a former champion as well. So it's really bizarre what's going on with the ZX25R. We know, of course, the weight is the issue as well as the torque. And they can't really let those RPMs sing as much, so they're at a real deficit.
Yeah, with the torque you need to get out of these tight corners and the hard braking with that extra 15 kilograms at the end of those straights, it's a bit of an ask for the Kawasaki riders. Spectators already coming out in this morning's sunshine. All around the track you can see from that shot just what a gorgeous location this is. So this time around it was the young Thai star Kritapat Kenkum for Yamaha Thailand Racing Team. He's going to be hunting for a podium or a win this afternoon. 2:07.4 was his time. 2:07.9 next best. Fadil Musyavi, the replacement rider for Yamaha Racing Indonesia. And then it was Murrayville Vitoni who'll start from pole this afternoon. 4th quickest, Galang Hendra looking for a better result. DNF yesterday for the very rapid wildcard, Ryuji Yoko, he was 5th quickest. And then it was championship leader in 6th, Fadila RB Aditama. Rintaro Takamoto, the number 81, was 7th, and Chandra Hermawan, Yamaha Racing Indonesia's number 88, was 8th. And then it was Aldiaz Iqsal Ismail for Yamaha Baf Yamalub, and then Daniel Shami Sharil for Uma Racing. Izam Iqmal, yesterday's winner, was 11th in warm-up, and then it was Hikari Akubo for Sanwa Racing. Ryota Ogawara, his teammate, 12th and 13th, then 14th Aiki Iyoshi on the quicker of the Moto Kawasaki Sniper Manual Tech machines, and then Faris Putra and Rish Takahira, 5th yesterday for TY Antares, he was 16th in warm-up, then Andy Fadley for Kawasaki, and then Irfan Haikal for Maestro NWN SCK, Gao Xiang for Team One for All, 19th, 20th Cal Vietnam, Honda Racing Vietnam, Kotaro Tagashi, STG Hark Pro 21, 22, Shenzhen Zhang for TY Antares Racing Team, Davina Brittani for Astra Honda was 23rd with a 2:10.3, Calvin Kinsel, Idemitsu Honda Racing India 2:10.6, Joan Reeves Emmanuel, his teammate, was 25th, 26th, Don Ampu for Streamo Uzi Asia Team, Irfan Ardiansha, the number 16, down in 27th with a 2:11.8. Nguyen Hu Tri, Honda Racing Vietnam, 28th. 29th, Liu Guang Yuan, Team One for All. And Yongnan Zi for Victor Racing, 30th with a 2:16. No time recorded for Jazil Jarami. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in 5 or 6 minutes with the warm-up session for the Supersport 600s. Another fantastic race to talk about, so join us then. We are at Mobility Resort Motegi for round 3 of the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. Welcome back to Motegi. We are here, of course, for round 3 of the 2025 FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. And we are just beginning a 15-minute warm-up session for the Supersport 600s. That little group there, led by yesterday's race winner, Anupam Sarmoon. Now, Anupam Sarmoon winning a race isn't anything that would surprise you normally, but he had a pretty average Friday in practice. He qualified in 10th, so it looked as though his championship challenge, which was he was just 2 points behind Adinanta Putra as we went into race 1 yesterday. It looked as though that challenge might fade, but we underestimated him and Yamaha Thailand Racing Team because they found what they needed. They found the key to Motegi, and Anupam made his way through progressively and aggressively and ended up taking an absolutely sensational win from Kazma Daniel by 0.177 of a second, which looked comfortable based on the race that we had seen leading up to that. Adinanta Putra lost his championship lead marginally. It's number 21 just going through on your screen for Astra Honda. And there's the number 32, Helmi Asman. A mixed weekend for the Malaysian star. He was dominant in practice on Friday, looking really good, but then he had problems in qualifying. First of all, he had a scrappy session where he seemed to be a little bit stop and go. There were some misunderstandings on track between him and Khalid and Pawi and Sharafuddin Asman, but then he qualified. He was 8th or 9th quickest, but then got removed to the back of the grid for an infringement on tyres during qualifying. I'm not sure of the detail of that, but there was obviously something they did wrong with the tyre allocation, and that involved dropping Helmi to the back of the grid, along with the Yamaha of Soichiro Minamoto, who's back in as a wildcard for Hongleong Yamaha Racing Team. But Anupam put on a show, as he did once again. If you recall, 5 or 6 weeks ago we were at Sepang for round 2, and he started from the back of the grid and made his way up into P2 by the end, rallying us all the way through. Well, he did the same yesterday, starting from P10. So this Super Sport race this afternoon is going to be an absolute thriller. Also on superb form is Kazma Daniel, just going off to the left, top left of your picture there. Number 36, debutant in this series for Rosie Torakatsula. He took pole position last year when he was in AP250s. He went on to finish runner-up in the championship, and Adake Emon there on SDG Honda. That's the first time we've seen an SDG Honda in Supersport, and we would dearly love to see a few more of those in the coming seasons. There is Kazma Daniel, started from pole position, led most of the race, in the end was just overcome by Anupam Sarmoon, who rode really hard, aggressively, cleanly to win the race. Kazma seemed happy enough with P2. He's had a couple of bad races, including a DNF so far this season, so consistency of scoring is really important, and so picking up 20 points for second yesterday put Kazma within 20 points of Anupam, who is now the championship leader. He's on 88, 5 points ahead of Adinanta Putra, who had another really good race yesterday, but finished in P3. Adinanta, we will have a look at in a minute. Adinanta riding with a broken collarbone. Broke it 2 weeks ago, so that's not going to be fully repaired. But we know the toughness of that rider, and we know the brilliance of the rider on your screen here. Number 27, Kazma Daniel. What did you think of Kazma's performance yesterday, Daniel Bogers?
I thought it was a smart work from Kazma. He controlled the pace of the group from the start until the final couple of laps, and it was just Anupap's brilliance that allowed Anupap to take the victory. And I don't think that discredits Kazma in any way. He rode a brilliant race, led most of it, and maybe in Kazma's mind the championship was bigger than a victory in race 1, and I think that was a very wise move from Kazma not to fight Anupap, because we know how hard Anupap can fight. And rather than taking away 0 points, Kazma comes away from that with 20 points, and it's a really good showing from Kazma, and it keeps his championship hopes very much alive. He trails Anupap by just about 20 points.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And he's already had he's had a DNF, and he scored 3 points in race 2, round 2 at Sepang, race 2. So that really, in a 12 race series, that is your quota of slip-ups, basically. So he needs to stay on the bike, he needs to keep finishing. Absolutely. Yeah, there is Karolidin Paui, who I don't think we've seen the best of him this weekend.
Yeah, he looked good in qualifying before the qualifying rears were on. He was fighting always at the top positions, and he did qualify well in the end. It just, in the race, it didn't come quite together for Kip. It really didn't come together for any of the Bunsu Hondas in the end. The Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia.
Yeah, when we talk about him being off form, he was 1.2 seconds back from the winner, but he was in P6. And that is by the high standards that we set for Karolidin Paui, and indeed the standards that he sets for himself. That's the number 44 on the screen there. The rider behind him on the Astra Honda, number 123, had a crash under braking for turn 11. That very tricky downhill braking after the 760-meter back straight. So Kip going to be looking for a better result today. Look at these times here. It is Tsuchiro Minamoto who was quickest, but Kazma Daniel has just done a 154.449. Not the warm-up times mean too much, unless you've got an underperforming rider that jumps up. For me, the underperformers yesterday with the 3 Thai Hondas, Tanak Chakrapat and Kitsada. The best of those this morning in warm-up is Tanak Longpiao, who's just slipped from 7th to 10th as we speak. But there is number 21. He came in as championship leader. He's 5 points behind Anupap in the standings right now. Number 21, the absolutely brilliant now, and definitely one of the riders to watch out for in this championship. Adinanta qualified well, qualified second, which we don't always expect him to start from the front row, because as you've often pointed out, Daniel, he uses just about every session to make sure he's got his race set up and his race pace right. But he had a really good race yesterday. He was, in the end, 4/10 behind Anupap when he came into 3rd place.
Yeah, there was a different Adinanta this week, I would say. In qualifying, he really put in a really hot lap. He's usually not too bothered when he doesn't qualify well, but it's always better to get the result that he did in qualifying, which was really good to see. And at the same time, he was aggressive on the start of the race as well. He really put Kazma under pressure, and it just looked like it was a matter of when Adinanta Putra would choose his moment, but ultimately Kazma just that a little bit better around Motegi in race 1.
Yeah, and we'll never know, but the effect of that injury, which was that broken collarbone, which was just 2 weeks ago, that would have been in his mind, because he couldn't really afford to crash.
You can see him on the podium as well. He was moving his shoulder about, and you can only imagine what sort of pain Adinanta is going through.
Yeah, so he inevitably would have had that in his mind. Not as a matter of fear, but as a matter of, well, if I damage it again, maybe my championship hopes are going to be over. And he is fancied for the championship this year. I mean, those three riders, Anupam, Kazma and Adinansa, the podium finishes yesterday, you'd have to say those are the contenders. Helmy slipped off. This hasn't been a good round for him. He recovered respectably from starting at the back to finish 7th yesterday.
It hasn't been a weekend at all to remember for Helmy Osman. No idea what's going on. I did manage to have a word with him, so I finally found out exactly why the penalty was given. So it wasn't really an obstruction of other riders. It was a 4th lap on qualifying rears.
Oh, it's penalty for doing too many laps on the qualifiers. Okay.
So what happened was Helmy was, because they knew it was like Cosmo's situation where they saved a bit of tire in the early portion and then tried to find that final lap. And yeah, unfortunately for Helmy, it was just 1 lap too many, and hence where he's starting from.
Right, so to clarify that, you're allowed 3 flying laps? Yeah. So I know that. 3 flying laps and then you come in. Okay.
So what I'm not sure yet is whether or not that carries on forward for race 2 as well. Because Helmy did post a qualifying time in the end. So we'll have to find out whether he gets to start in his qualified position or if he has to start on the back of the grid as well.
Yeah, I would guess because he was in qualifying, probably again. Unfortunately for him, I'm not wishing it on him, not at all. Love to see him back up at the front. Yeah. At the front there is Daniel Kazmayuddin for Hongyang Yamaha with his wildcard teammate. Very welcome return to Supersport 600 for 2023 champion Soichiro Minamoto. He was also penalised for the same infraction as Helmy. But of course, no championship pressure on this rider. And he pulled into the pits with some kind of mechanical issue yesterday, so he didn't complete the race. He'll be wanting to make an impression today. We know his quality, and it's always good to see Soichiro Minamoto, who's one of those riders who rides with joy, I think, of racing motorbikes. Always good to see him on the podium. And it's always exciting for us, although frustrating for the riders, when the wildcards, it happens in Japan more than anywhere else, when the wildcards disturb the championship standings by taking away big points from the contenders. Wayne Nugroho currently 2nd quickest. He impressed me yesterday, and in fact all weekend.
Yeah.
He was good on Friday. He qualified well in 7th and had a really good race to come through in 4th, just ahead of McKinley Carpaz, who is another rider who had a good race, improving all the time. He's really got the measure of these 600s now.
Yeah, I think for Wahyu, what I can see visually, it looks like he's just finally found the way to really ride the Super Sport 600 well. I mean, he's a good rider. It was just a matter of converting his talent into a Super Sport 600 riding style, and he's done that. His whole weekend he's been so impressive looking, and really he was in for a shot at the podium for a couple of times and towards the end of that race, and it's a really large group. So if that pattern continues on for race 2, I'm not surprised at all if we see Wahyu Nugroho and McKinley Carl getting another opportunity to fight for the top 3 spots.
Yeah, good turn of speed from Helmy as well. He's just done a 154.5, which is a very respectable race pace. Helmy must be full of determination and controlled anger, I would imagine, to get a good result today. Number 53 there, Adaki Aman for SDG. just drop another hint there that we'd love to see more super sport bikes from SDG in this championship.
Yeah, it will be great. I hope SDG, I mean, the result was pretty positive, I'd say, this weekend. Not contesting for podium spots, but nevertheless, it was a good qualifying for Odaki. It was good pace all the way around for Odaki as well. I think SDG should be happy with what they've done already this weekend. And I really do hope they stay with this. We know in the thousands they're a top contender now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Reza Daniko's posted a 155.2. He qualified well yesterday with a 153.7. And although he crashed yesterday, for me he looks more comfortable, a little bit more confident and aggressive on the 600. Another rider, this is his second season in 600s, having stepped up from winning the AP 250 Championship in 2023. The number 23 behind the 123 is McKinley Carl-Paz, who we were just talking about, who is really finding his form in 600s. So we've reached the end of this session, and we have one more to go, and luckily it's a 20-minute session coming up for the ASB 1000s, because there were so many stories in yesterday's race. But here are the warm-up results. Casper Daniel, who will start from pole position this afternoon, 154.4 for him. Next up, Helmi Asman, who's really got something to go for this afternoon. Wayu Nugroho, we were just talking about. Good weekend so far for him. Adinanta Putra, second in the championship, fourth in warm-up. Karolidin Paui for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia, fifth. McKinley Carl-Paz for Hongyong Yamaha, sixth. Seventh, wildcard Sachiro Minamoto. He'll want to finish today and finish well. Reza Danica Arens, eighth quickest. And then yesterday's race winner, Anupab, best time for him, 155.3. Sharifuddin Asman, who crashed out yesterday for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia, 10th. Adaki Amon for SDG Harp Pro, 11th. 12th, Tanat Longpliao, 13th. Herjanatno Firdaus for Astra Honda. Ferozi Torakatula for Yamaha Racing Indonesia was 14th. 15th was Jakrapat Pudisan, Honda Racing Thailand. Those Thai Hondas further down than we would expect. Shajun Tong did a 159, he was 16th quickest, and Kitsadar Tandachok for Honda Racing Thailand did a 159.3. No time recorded for Rocco Sessler, so we hope to see the young German out for Team One for All this afternoon. So we're going to take another very short break, 5 minutes or so, and when we come back it will be for the ASB 1000s. And if you didn't see the race yesterday, or even if you did, join us for that, because there's plenty to talk about. There is nothing quite like the sight and sound of a grid full of 1000cc superbikes, and coming on to the circuit now for a 20-minute warm-up session is the ASB 1000 class. No fewer than 7 manufacturers entered for this weekend, so the sight and sound is a very colourful and symphonic one indeed. There is the BMW, the number 83 of Lachlan Epis. Unfortunately, it was Lucas Lachlan yesterday who fell on the formation lap for the start of the race. Sorry, on the warm-up lap, just before the start. So he didn't even turn a wheel in the race yesterday. So we're hoping for much, much better things today. And just as we were looking back through the tunnel towards turn 5, we saw Kawasaki coming through. It's one of the less familiar and one of the more welcome entries to the grid. It's the Kawasaki of Kawasaki Plaza Racing Team with Ryosuke Iwato on board. But quite rightly, we should pay some attention to the rider on your screen there, the number 55. This is Shirin for JDT, the team from Johor, with that gorgeous Ducati Panigale. Many people anticipating a win for Hafiz this weekend. He hasn't scored a win, he's had a couple of second places this season. And we just felt that as he's been here before, as he has lots of MotoGP experience here, plus his native quality, and the fact that the Ducati team is looking really strong, the bike looking really sorted, many people predicting a win for him yesterday. It all went wrong right at the start of race 1 when he clipped the back of Makarina Tirapupavat's Honda and went off. He came back on way behind everybody else, but crashed again in his attempts to catch up. So Hafiz Shirin is going to be looking for no less than a race win this afternoon. And as well as the beautifully turned out Hondas that we're familiar seeing, like this one of Azroy Hakim Anwar for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia, the number 20 there. It's great to see some of the super professional teams like the one we were just looking at, that one, the number 15, the Motorbum Honda of Motoharu Ito. Motoharu Ito having really making him a great impression this weekend. Motoharu Ito qualified with a 150.7 in 10th. And in the race came through to finish 5th. So brilliant effort from the wild card. There is the number 64, the Kawasaki of Ryosuke Iwato, who didn't start yesterday, so we're delighted to see him on track today.
Yeah, Ryosuke Iwato showed decent pace in practice and in qualifying. A lot of them just struggled a bit with the qualifying compounds. It does give you much more grip for 3 laps. For some riders, it's a bit tough to get used to that, as well as maybe make a quick suspension tweak to that rear shock. So, nevertheless, they've been showing good race pace, and I think in this race we should see a decent fight once again from Shota Ite as well, with the collaboration between Akeno and Uma Racing. The bike's been performing really well. Top speed hasn't been too far off either, as Shota mentioned on the grid. His focus is on managing the tires and bringing it to the end. Of course, unfortunately, the tire management plan didn't go 100% accordingly, taking a low side into turn 5. But it's a second opportunity for Shota.
Yeah, and number 25 there of Aslan Shah, he could have had a better weekend. He finished 7th in the race yesterday. He crashed on qualifying tyres in the morning, so he started down in 11th. So, but there's we always know there's plenty of fight in Aslan Shah on race day, so he's going to be looking for a rapid getaway this afternoon, as will this rider, the number 41. The determined, aggressive, came in as 1 point behind Azroy in the championship, but crashed yesterday. So he's going to be looking for much better things this afternoon to put himself back in stronger contention. Nakarin finished, scored 5 points yesterday, so he picked the bike up, as you'd expect from the gritty tie. There he is, bike looking perfect again today as he peels into turn 1 ahead of Aslan Shah. Bike out there on circuit looking like it's got a problem, one of the Hondas.
Oh, that's a crash. Oh, that's a scary one.
Wow, that was almost a U-turn.
Yeah, that's Azroy there, nearly going right into the barriers, but managing to slow down in time and bringing it around. That's really an awkward crash.
That was strange, yeah.
It looked like his leg was just caught under the bike and it pulled him all the way left. That is a strange one.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange weekend for Azroy as well. Not good qualifying, qualified in 8th. Very good race performance though, coming through to 2nd.
I think for Azroy, it's just his first time riding the CBR on a stop-and-go style circuit. It's a lot to get used to with thousands on a track like this. You're carrying much more weights, and it's going to be really, really tiring on the upper body as well. Actually, the entire body, but mainly to get that bike stopped in a stop-and-go format. You've got to brake super hard and deep in turn 1 into turn 3, and then once again into turn 5, and then finally at turn 11 is another super hard braking area. So it's going to be a bit taxing on the body. It's going to be a bit hard for Azroy to find that setup, but ultimately Azroy's quality was shown in the race, and I think that really carried him through.
Yeah, Fizz is going to make a stop in a moment. He's having a quiet warm-up session, but there'll be plenty of attention being paid to getting his race set up right for this afternoon. He will start from pole position, and he'll want to finish in P1-2 as we watch him come round. He had a hand up earlier, but that was not so surprising given the hammering that the front tyres take with so much hard braking. We haven't seen yesterday's race winner yet, Kita Abe, on screen, but what a race we had yesterday. There was the sensation at the start, sensation in the wrong sense, of Hafiz going off, but Azroy making his way up. A really strong performance again from Zakwan Zaidi, who's keeping himself in championship contention. And in terms of the wildcards, well, we were excited to see Japan Post Honda race. Oh, and down goes Hafiz Sharin once again. Hafiz in the gravel in warm-up. Shakes his head.
What a bizarre week this has been for Hafiz Sharin.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's fastest in qualifying, fastest in most of the sessions in practice, and then he's been it twice now this weekend. Goes in here, you can see he's trying to get that bike stable, and just the front end, it just makes an awkward movement. So you can see the forks suddenly just dip a second time, and that's what sends Hafiz tumbling in the gravel then. Oh, you can see how he just doesn't understand what's going on there.
Yeah, that was a look of absolute bewilderment. Just watching him walk off there. Oh, he's okay.
A slight limp is understandable, but nothing serious.
Yeah, he had his left hand up, but I think he was just holding his chest protector. There's the rider whose bike he clipped the back of yesterday. Nakarin Terabuvapat looking threatening for the race win, or at the very least a good podium finish yesterday, but it wasn't to happen. He took himself out of contention.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Nakarin came away with that without any warning or anything, because Nakarin swept back across after going really, really wide in turn 1. And I think Hafiz is really unfortunate to be the victim in that one.
Yeah, I mean, at the start, the riders are so close together. Nakarin would have been trying to get his, as you said, his bike back on line. There was no action from race control, so that is officially a racing incident. Nakarin really quick. He had a P2 and a P3 here at Motegi last year, so he does like this circuit. Had a heavy tumble last year as well, as I remember in qualifying. Like moving around a lot, but he likes it like that. He's not particularly liking that at the moment.
Yeah, the aggressive riding style of Nakarin has worked well sometimes for him, but it didn't work well in Sepang. And it's not gone exactly to plan here this weekend for Nakarin, but in warm-up so far it's working well. It's just a wonder whether he can hold this on for race 2 later on. For now, 2 Hondas at the top looking strong, but Kito Abe, race winner yesterday, look at him sliding it in there. Yeah, he's looking confident as well.
Yeah, he looks super confident. He's got Aslan sizing him up, just a few bike lengths behind. And behind him, Wadaruka on the Aprilia, Team Tatara Aprilia.
In the top 5 are Hondas. Right, in Honda's yet backyard.
Yeah, out of the wild cards, Sho Nishimura, who won race 1 here at Motegi last year when he came in.
Azra's just gone up with a 150.6. Azra Kimanawar, 2nd place yesterday, nearly taking the challenge to Kito.
And nearly crashed.
And nearly crashed. A 150.6 in warm-up.
There you go. So, not shaken, not stirred, Azroy.
Oh, Aslan Shah goes off into the gravel. What's happened there? It looks like he just has no brakes. Just looked like he couldn't get that bike stopped at all.
Yeah, he's onto the grass where he can control it a little bit better rather than getting bogged down in the gravel. But Kito Abe was sensational yesterday. One of the astute members of the commentary team predicted that he would win, Daniel. And indeed he did.
Yeah, we made some early predictions as well this morning, but we'll save that for later. Kito as well with the link coming off before tipping it in and going off exactly on the same path that Nakarin did.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So let's see what happened here. Here's a replay. Kito gets on the gas, rear tail is kicking out ever so slightly, but he keeps it so calm and composed, and look at how wild that looks. Okay, that's a bit much for Kito, but
yeah,
he loves riding it that way.
Yeah, and he's developed this really neat riding style that we've seen from other SDG riders. He looks so good on the bike.
You know, he looks unstable yet so stable at the same time, and I've never seen anything like it. It's really strange.
Yeah, normally the body looks stable while the bike's moving around, and so you can see the confidence there. Apiwat Wongtananon. Well, there's another story from yesterday. The Thai rider for A1 Energy BMW was penalised for a jump start, penalty being a ride through. But
it was a long lap penalty.
Sorry, yeah. Long lap.
He ended up taking it right through.
I made the same mistake as he did, Daniel. But this is not such a costly mistake in the commentary box. But yeah, Apiwat didn't do the ride through, and we were watching him. What's he going to do?
Oh, Apiwat loses the front.
Down he goes again. What an unhappy weekend for him too.
Yeah, strange for Apiwat because he had the long lap penalty shown for quite a number of laps. Then it became a double long lap penalty, and then when he finally saw that he had a penalty, he decided to go for a ride-through penalty instead. Let's see what happens. He's right behind Motoharu, and he tips the bike in. Just as he reaches the apex, you can see the front wheel just turning a little bit, and down it goes.
Yeah, that's how close he is riding to the limit.
Yeah, I was just asking a bit too much on the front on that occasion. That's where we saw Shota Ite go down as well yesterday in the race.
So quite a few crashes in qualifying. This is no gentle Sunday morning ride for these guys. Pushing right, seeing where the limits are before they go, and giving the teams a little bit of work to do before race one. Luckily for the teams anyway, the ASBs are the final race of the afternoon, as the first half of the 2025 championship reaches its climax. Shota Ite, that's one of the wildcard bikes that I really love the look of.
Oh yeah,
Number 74.
such a great color combination. Does remind me of a much older livery back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't think we were allowed to see the name of the logo that was on it.
No, we're not. Somebody might get the hump if we do.
Yeah.
There we are. If you know, you know.
Oh, both the Toshima
Oh,
and Shota
no.
Ite go down. That was that was another domino effect. Toshima lost the front, and Shota was right behind him, and Toshima was just so confused at how Shota Ite has just followed him into the gravel. But my oh my,
Oh.
so many crashes in warm-up. Let's get a replay of what that was. We just got onto that shot. Brilliant work by our director, and brilliant job by the cameraman as well. Let's see this. So Tashima, he goes in on the brakes. Shota, both of them pulling out the leg at the same time. Tashima tips the bike in, and so does Shota. The second Toshima tries to get to the apex, he loses it, and then Shota follows through with.
I guess he just pulled a little bit more on the front brake. But
That's
what a bizarre crash.
And look at Toshima, he just points at Shota right afterwards, wondering what happened to you.
Yeah, there was no animosity there. It was just like, what just happened? Another glimpse there of the Kawasaki. There we are, the number 64.
Such a good looking bike that is.
Yeah.
The color. Who doesn't love Kawasaki green?
No idea. So Ryosaki Iwata, we were disappointed not to see him on the starting grid yesterday.
Yeah. Let's hope.
It's great to see him in warm-up. How's he doing in warm-up?
Yeah, he's not as quick as he was in Friday's practices.
Late 152s.
So perhaps still a few more things they need to find for Ryosuke. He looked impressive in practice 1 and in practice 3.
Yeah, and all these bikes that come from the All Japan Championship, which is a really, really high standard of championship. The top riders have absolutely no trouble at all coming into an international series like ARRC and holding their end up. Sho Nishimura, there's been so much action here that you start talking about something and then there's an incident. But Sho Nishimura, who won race 1 last year, qualified 3rd, had a really bad start yesterday, but ended up finishing in P4. He's going to want to put himself on the podium this afternoon. So much quality here, even while you've got, say, Aslan and Afiwat on the BMWs misfiring a bit. Lakarin misfired yesterday. So there's Cameron Dunker, the 17-year-old Australian, going really well in the Australian Superbike Championship and getting some great international experience with ARRC. Just going through the bottom of your screen there was Sho Nishimura, the number 230. But we stay with Cameron Dunker on the Moto Go at Yamaha. The man behind Moto Go Yamaha is Patrick Lee, former Superbike competitor in this class. So it's great to see Patrick back and doing some great things with such a promising young Australian rider as Cam Dunker.
Yeah, it's been a learning couple of rounds for Cam. I think we saw him looking at his best in Buriram, and in Sepang he really struggled to find his lines. Here now he's getting a bit closer. He was trailing by about 3 seconds in previous sessions. Now he's just down to 2.2. He's just behind Ryosuke Iwata and Wadaruka, so I think in the race Cam's going to build up a bit more confidence around Motegi, and we might see him scoring points here.
Yeah, P9 yesterday, 28 seconds off the winner, so that's not at all bad.
He learns a lot when he has a bit of a reference in front of him just to see the lines, and then he plays it in his own way. Such a young rider in this field of legends and ex-champions.
But it is good when you see the young riders coming in. I mean, Sho Nishimura, he's a youngster. Kito Abe, he's not exactly an old man, and there is they're not old men either, but they've been around for a long time. Zakwan Zaidi doing a really steady job. He's quick again this season, meaning competitive at the front. He's got 1 Superbike championship and 2 Super Sport championships under his belt already. So a bit of an Asia Road Racing Championship luminary. Waves from the spectators, who are very nicely set up with their picnics around the circuit. But Azroy Hakim Anwar, championship leader and leader in this warm-up session, a 150.656. That's a pretty decent time. Makarina Tirapubapat for Honda Racing Thailand, just a tenth or so behind him. And then it was Zakwan Zaidi, a close fourth in the championship for Idemitsu Honda Racing Malaysia. Kito Abe, yesterday's winner, fourth quickest for SGG Hark Pro Honda Philippines. Sho Nishimura on the 230 Japan Post Honda Racing, fifth quickest. And then it was Motohara Ito on the gorgeous Motorbum Honda. Then Murasi Takaru was on the Suzuki P7, and 8th for Hafiz Sharin Abdullah for JDT Racing Team after a crash mid-session. Lachlan Epis 151.9, he was 9th quickest. Then it was Aslan Shah, Shota Ite, and Toshima Ray, who had that bizarre crash, nobody's fault. As we saw just a few minutes ago, they were 11th and 12th. 13th, Apiwat, another crasher in that session. Wadaruka did a 152.3 for Team Tatara Aprilia. Ryosaki Iwato on that Kawasaki, 152.5. Cam Dunker, we were just talking about, 16th on the MotoGo Yamaha. And then it was Akito Haga for Team Tatara Aprilia. Joe Francis for Victor Racing was 18th and 19th with a 158.8 for Tioyu Joe, Savitar Team Asia. So that's it for warm-up. We'll be back again at, well, again. We're going to be back at 1 o'clock with racing, where once again we'll be joined by the mighty maestro of the microphones, Des Corkill. And before that, if you are anywhere in the area, and I can see that there are plenty of people around this circuit already, from 11 o'clock to 12:10, we've got a pit walk. So do come, say hello to the riders, get some selfies, get some merchandise, and say hello to us if you're really that desperate. But we look forward to seeing you again at 1 o'clock when we kick off this afternoon's action with TVS Asia One Make Championship. Stay with us. We're at the magnificent Mobility Land Motegi for round 3 of the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship.